Coming up now is the 4th edition this year of the European Showrunner Think Tank, like Nadja already mentioned. And this is a series of industry events that help to analyze, discuss, and eventually, hopefully, establish a sustainable, truly European approach to showrunning. The event series, the think tanks, are part of the European Showrunner Program, which is a training program. And this is an initiative by the IFS Internationale Filmschule Cologne and funded by Creative Europe Media of the European Union and, of course, the Film and Media Fund NRW and supported by Netflix. And may I say, we actually got a fantastic think tank on stage today. So let me sit down for this. And welcome to the stage, Marianne Wendt. Where are you? There you are. Creator and showrunner. Yeah, come on. Bettina Alber, head of series at SRF. Bettina, welcome. And last but not least, Benedict Bulhoff, producer at Viafilm. Welcome. During these think tanks, we have focused on the showrunner writer perspective. We focused on the broadcaster perspective. We had one that had a focus on equality, diversity, and inclusion. Last year, we talked about the producer's perspective here on stage. But today, we're actually staying really close to the content, and we're staying close to home with the German-speaking content. So we're diving into adapting the showrunner model to the project needs. Everyone. Let's start with a short introduction. Who are you? And also, how is your company or how are you working with showrunners? Marianne, you are a showrunner.
Okay, I'm Marianne, and originally I started working in the theater.
Okay.
So I came very late to the film industry. And in the theater, I worked first as a dramaturg and then for several years as a director in Germany in several state and city theaters.
Yeah.
Gaining experience in working with actors, understanding how directing is. But then I realized I wanted to go on and tell my own stories and started writing, did screenwriting school in Munich.
Yeah.
And started to try to get through the first steps in the film industry. And everybody knows that it takes a long time.
A long time.
And in between this time where I was writing exposés and nobody wanted to do it, I worked in the public broadcasters radio. I did radio plays and documentaries, both as a writer and also as a director. And get knowledge about... like sound design, editing, all of this. And finally then, my first TV show as a staff writer got through, and I started working on different crime shows first, until maybe 2015, 16, when all the streamers got in. We had the first originals from Netflix, Amazon in Germany. And this was also the period where I could start doing horizontal drama-based own series as a creator. And in the last 7-8 years, I did 3 of them. I started with a show called Eden for Arte France.
I remember that one, yes.
We co-created it with Edward Berger and his wife. And then I did Neumatt.
Yeah, that we will talk about later.
We talk about right now. We are now in the 3rd season. Yeah. And it was my first show where I worked as a showrunner. Yeah. And then the latest project with Benedict is Wer Wir Sind.
Wer Wir Sind. What is the English title again? I keep forgetting it. This is long.
It's Generation Now, Today for Tomorrow.
Generation Now, Today for Tomorrow. Thank you.
And it will premiere in 2 weeks, I think, mid of November, 15th of November.
And we will talk about that as well.
Quite shaking already how it will be received.
Exciting. Bettina.
Ja, hallo. nice to meet you here. Since I can remember, I've been addicted to stories. That's my first thing I remember, and to understand the world through them. I think, and it may sound a little bit pathetic, but I believe in the power of storytelling, and for that, my job as head of series at Swiss Broadcaster is kind of a dream job, of course. And there we are. I did my first steps in theater too, like Marianne, and then I worked a lot on series production in Switzerland as first AD and later as a producer. But when I came to SRF, we used to work very close there with all the creative components of developing and producing. And we have another thing in Switzerland. We are very, very basically democratic, talking about everything every time. But it needs someone to decide in a creative process also. And if in my experience, and when we started to work so close, especially with writers, which is a privilege and a pleasure, I came to the feeling that we have to bring the writers in the driver's seat. So we tried 10 years ago. We started this initiation to strengthen the role of the writers in the developing and producing process.
Fantastic, Benedict.
Hi, thanks for the invitation today. So I'm one of two general partners and producers of Wer Film, a production company from Munich, and we only produce fiction films and fiction series. And talking about today's topic, we currently still developing the system, how we want to approach this kind of series, this high-end series, because we learned a lot from Wer Wir Sind and from the working together with Marianne. And for us, we identified two aspects, I can say, in that project. First, you have to look at the project needs. That means that there's a difference if you have only one director, as we had with Charlotte Roth, is a wonderful director. She's here today, and she's was part of at a certain point of the development and of the whole creative vision. Or if you're working with three directors that are only working on maybe 2 episodes and only have a couple of weeks in the edit and leave the project after that, and maybe have nothing to do with the mixing. And that is one aspect. And the other aspect for us is you have to look at the production company. Do you have a bigger one with a lot of people in it, or have you a smaller company, as we are? Then the owners are part of the whole process. And I think they want to talk about the creative ambition and the aims.
I think that's exactly what we're talking about today, and also what has been the overarching theme of these think tanks. Like, what is a European take on a showrunner system? And maybe indeed it is something that differs on a project-by-project basis. And of course, in Europe, we also have a different system as opposed to the American showrunner system. So that is definitely something that we're going to, in 45 minutes, trying to figure out here. No pressure. But I will definitely get back to that as well later on. But let me start with Neumatt. Marianne, Neumatt, you said was your first showrunner project. Was showrunning always the ambition when you were a writer on the other series?
Actually, there was a time where I even didn't know what a showrunner is. Of course. But then when I started doing series as a creator and a head writer, of course I got into the American system. I tried to understand how they are working, why the process is so effective, and not only effective but also creatively really great. And I tried to adapt just little bits and pieces here and there, but of course, even in the beginning, not thinking about being a showrunner, just to make a better writer's room, for example, or define for myself where do I start with my writer's room, what do I need, and then when we started with Neumatt, we didn't start with the first sentence. Okay, we work in a showrunner system. It was the other way around. We worked very closely together on the basic vision and understood, I think, in my opinion, quite quickly that the producer, the commissioning editor, and me, we had a really sharp feeling for what it should be, and that we developed a kind of trust, or that they knew I wouldn't disappoint them in a way, and they let me go the path and give me support wherever I needed it.
And grow into the role, basically.
And then there was a point when we talked a lot about the American system. We talked about how it would be with the several seasons. We talked about also something I don't know if you know it, in Germany, Contract 18.
Yes.
It's an initiative about the role of the writers in the process.
Exactly.
And so we were much into like a exchange of how our approach individually would be, and realized that it would be quite similar. And then there was a point when I think it was Reto asked me, actually, could you imagine replacing me when I would be doing a sabbatical? And I was, what?
Wait.
And it was all about trust, because we had gone a huge path together already with all the partners, and both producer and you were already in discussion about a showrunner model in the background. And I had shown I'm willing to do it. I felt ready because of my biography, because I had direct experience, experience with all the different components you need. Yeah. And then we said, okay, let's try. And we really developed the whole model from scratch, how our showrunner model would be in the first season.
For this specific project. Well, this season, actually.
For the season. Yeah. And then we always, and it's about communication, about feedback, and about try and error. And if you make a mistake, not blaming somebody for the mistake, but taking responsibility and make it better the next time. And so we always went on in the second season, changed little slightly things. Also, there were other directors, which meant automatically we had to adapt. We experimented a lot with the editing system. We did it like a writer's room system, also with a head editor. And so every season it was a little bit different. Yeah. Trying out and always trying to do the best for the project and not the best for some ego or some singular
best for the project. Yeah. No, I think that's an important point. We sometimes tend to forget that. But Tina, Marianne just mentioned that you already had some experiences before Neumatt with a showrunner system. Tell me about that approach.
No, it was not the showrunner system, but we are on it. We are doing much learning by doing.
Right.
And it has been a very long journey, and we have tried very different models depending on the projects and the strengths and preferences of them who are involved. And this learning by doing process started more than 10 years ago with our crime series, The Undertaker. And there it was a big success in Switzerland. And that gave us the opportunity to try things out. We have 7 seasons, 6 years, and every year we tried something new.
And you learned something new, I suppose, from the previous seasons.
This was very. We tried and developed both narratively and structurally, both things. So, and it's an anecdote, but I have to tell. By the way, we drew a lot of inspiration, of course, from Denmark and Norway, and that was Jeppe Gjervik Gram who gave us very. Concrete insights on the working of Borgen.
Who is head of studies, if I'm not mistaken, at the showrunner program?
Yeah, he is, exactly. And I always remember Pugh Bernd, head of drama at DR, and she presented us the One Vision model. And then she promised if we head on that, there will be pain. And yes, there was.
Was there pain?
There was a lot of pain. When we started to strengthen the role of the writers, there was a lot of resistance, especially from the directors and from the producers. When we first put the vision of the writers' room above the vision of the director, you can imagine what happens. Then we, in the second season, in the third season, we learned we have to bring the directors early into the writers' room. Yeah. They have to be part of the vision of the team because you need the director on set. And but we did a lot of things. We put young talents in the writers' room every season, two new writers, because Marianne, you talk about Kontrakt 18. We decided to give the writers a voice in casting process. Yep. We took them into the editing room. We made them the first point of contact for the actors if you discuss the characters.
It's like a traineeship in showrunning.
Yes, and so every step by step leads to the moment when we decided, and this was the first series, we decided it from the beginning on together with a production company, consciously and consistently. Let's do it as a showrunner model. Let's build up a model. Let's set up structures to do so, to give them the frame to do their work.
Yeah, and you say indeed resistance, the resistance from directors and producers. Marianne, what was that like? Did you get all the guidance and trust from the production company on Neumatt?
Yes, definitely. Okay. I mean, we already had walked away in the development process so that we had already got to know each other, and then decided when there was a green light for the project that we would work in pre-production while shooting and editing in the showrunner model. So we already knew that there would be some trust, and then we were really precise also in developing kind of tools to try to give more trust. For example,
yes.
In the very early stage in the development process, I understood that if I not only want to do the scripts, but also want to lead it through the whole process, I really also have to be in charge of the process itself, and not always waiting on the notes of somebody, and then again collecting somehow within the meeting
all the notes
on the notes, and then everybody says something else. So I tried to invent another. I name it input paper, which is kind of collect notes in between, working on it, sometimes alone, sometimes with a producer as my sparring partner or with a dramaturg, and then already defining the idea of the next draft, handing it out to the partners, and
before we
have the meeting, and then when we meet again, I can guide the process along the input paper, and the partners will give me really precise feedback, which leads me even further than this. And we're not talking about the mistakes of the old draft, but already about where I want to go with it in the next draft.
Yeah, it's really taking control. So didn't you get a lot of, I've changed that already. That's done already. Don't you have that conversation then?
No, because they get it in advance, so they know that. They know, then they can relate to and can add something new. Yeah. So I really can profit from the intelligence of all these people sitting there, and not being with something. Things I'm already over it. And so we try to do this kind of approach in all the stages, also very precisely with how we did the casting process for the directors, always trying to really get into a very precise analysis and feedback culture so that we really would communicate about why we take a decision and not saying, oh yeah, I feel it in my guts and it has to be like this, but really always have everybody in the boat. Yeah. And then if you have this, you don't need a final say decision and somebody having a big ego and telling it has to be like this, because it's always about making the vision of the project the vision of everybody.
The one vision.
Yeah.
Bettina, what was it like for you, this new process?
It's
as a commissioning editor?
No, it's a wonderful process. And I think it's exactly what you say. You have to, to create a vision together, but one has to have the lead.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah. No, I lost my.
That's okay.
I came back to it.
No, that's okay. And I think it's time that we hear from Benedict anyway. At this point, let's bring the producer into this discussion. So, on Wer Wir Sind, a completely different project. You decided to work with Marianne. How did you approach this?
So, at first we knew each other from another project,
yeah.
And that did not work, unfortunately. But I had the feeling, or I wanted to tell a story about a place, the House of Juvenile Justice.
Yeah.
That's one piece of the project. And I asked Marianne if she can, if she's interested in that. And I think, I don't know still, I think you were hooked, or you didn't. Did you know that Juvenile, the House?
No, not at all. I didn't know at all. But then you told me that it's still in the experience phase and it's placed in Leipzig.
Yes.
Mm. And then I immediately understood, wow, it fits perfectly to this story of a mother and a daughter Christian and me had developed for his hometown, Halle, which was always a police woman. Mm. And then it matched perfectly, and we had this really specific, great place, what you found, and a very strong, like it was just the heart of the story and a lot of developed, but
yes, of course.
This was the heart of everything when it began.
Mm. Yes, and then they, as Marianne said, they created the story from that point on, and I think the good thing was that we really shared from the first moment the same ambition. We want to tell something about the conflicts between generations. We want to tell something about young and old. We want to tell something about poor and rich, and about the question of responsibility. That's a key word for the whole project, I think.
This was the core concept of the series that you defined in a super early stage.
And we really, that we shared together with Christian the same vision. And if we are talking about the topic today, the idea of the showrunning, or how you call it,
showrunner, non-showrunner, something in between approach.
In the first moment, we were not talking about it. We were only talking about the creation, and we talked about that we have to do something, but we do not know how to call it in this project, because we still did not know if there is one or two or three directors and what it will be. We were 1 year, I think 1.5 years before we knew, okay, we have to do it, and we have to look at the process to look what will happen, and then we can decide how we manage it. So it's really, we looked from the project needs.
Yeah, and I think there might also be a problem, what we also encountered in previous think tanks. There might be a problem with the word showrunner, that everybody immediately thinks this is the one person running the show. And of course, in Europe, we're so used to this holy trifecta of producer, director, writer, that especially in Europe, there might be a different meaning to that word. And I think this is also what you mean, right?
Yes, that's what I mean. So I think it's still a developing process with all the people who are talking about this. And as I said before, we are still developing for ourselves how we want to approach these projects in future, and I think other companies are maybe a little bit further and they have made their own experience, but I don't think that we are have a definition for what it's really be in Germany.
But yeah, please.
I don't think that we have a definition that's true, and but for me, the showrunner, it's kind of the core, the engine of the whole process. And I told you yesterday, I think a showrunner is a kind of a conductor.
I think it's a beautiful metaphor.
And he needs a lot of it's a kind of you have to create not only a story but also a process, and to bring all the people with all their creative ideas, with all their competences into this process and make them work with you. And it's an engine. And if you work with this model we saw it at Neumatt, I think it's set up. There are so many. It's inspiration. That's great.
But it's interesting that you call it the core because looking at our project, we had we thought about the division of responsibilities.
Yeah.
Who is responsible for which part? And so Charlotte, Marianne, and me, we talked a lot about a very big structure paper about responsibilities. Marianne brought that into this project because
the same concept.
Yeah, everybody had to do something.
Yeah.
And looking at this, so I think we decided really together in a lot of things, the main aspects. But the important thing for us was that we really defined about 60 questions or 60 thoughts, I think, in this paper, and we discussed them in front of the whole production. And so, such as who is responsible for the main cast, for the side cast, for the contracts with the team, even such things that matters to the production. And who can give any feedback and who has a veto on special things. Maybe like Marianne says, no, this main actress or this main actor is please not. So we didn't have this situation, but we had to define a few situations. And that was really important because the good thing was we had no discussion after that about anything of these points because we all know what we have to do. And it was, Marianne, you said before something about trust.
Yeah.
I think that was really basic for us for trustful collaboration. And,
Marianne, what about, when you hear this, showrunner, no showrunner, indeed tailoring it to a different project, what do you think? What was the difference between the two, and what did you bring to Wer Wir Sind in that sense?
I brought a lot of experience and tools from Neumatt to Wer Wir Sind. For example, this kind of try to, with the list and having the decisions about final say, feedback, whatever. But I think the most important thing is that with the thing with the heart or what is the core or the center, that if you want to have a strong voice in a project, it's not enough if you start when you are in pre-production and you with the shooting and you have the director. You have to start in the very first beginning with the commissioning editor and with this basic team of like writer, editor, and producer. And here you set the tone. And in my definition of the role as in my work, I feel responsibility to set this tone very early, not only the tone of the show, but the tone of how we want to work, and then I have to carry this flame through all the process, and then I have to choose a director together with you and you, who has the same tonality and the same kind of work, because it's the same with when you cast actors. A director doesn't have the time to be on set and being there with a great actor, but they don't have a common language, because the process has to always to go on. And this is the same by choosing the head of departments. You don't have the time you want to feel with people what you feel that they feel the same like you on the project, and this is, for example, what made it so special with Charlotte as a director and you, that from the beginning on we were so close in our vision, that we really could concentrate on the details of how and what, how we would bring it on stage, and not discussing about really big differences. And this is why it's so crucial.
So you kind of co-created and shaped the creative vision altogether.
Exactly. And of course,
one of my favorite German words is Gesamtkunstwerk. Something like that?
Yes, I would say. And I mean, it was very special with Wer Wir Sind, because you have these 6 episodes which are all directed by Charlotte.
Yeah.
So it's really one unique directing voice.
Yeah.
And you are not. You don't have to sit in the editing room and thinking about, oh wow, it looks really different. And
one editor as well, right?
And one editor. So it was really kind of easy way, just giving trust and saying, here is your stage, and now I can step back. And I mean, we had a horrible shooting and a lot of problems to fix. But everything was there, and it was just kind of a WhatsApp group within the 3 of us, and not with Neumatt. It was a huge structure of communication and everybody who has to be involved, because it was much more complicated and bigger. And so this, of course, makes it, it was really felt very easy and very comfortable, and not so much work.
But you were, just from my understanding, you were involved in the whole process, right?
Exactly.
So also in production, you were involved in budget decisions, post-production, everything.
Exactly.
Okay. So that is indeed of a certain type of showrunner, but we're just not calling it a showrunner.
What is interesting is within this discussion, because we have it in Germany in the DDV, the Screenwriters Writers Guild.
Yeah.
They take care about the definitions within the whole writing process, and as well concerning showrunning. And there's a huge discussion about because showrunner is this mythical term which is like huge and everybody wants to have it. And even if people come out of school and they have no experience at all, they want to be showrunner. And then you have to tell them, no, you have to have a lot of skills and experience. And in a way, I have the impression this idea, because our model, we said we call it writer-producer model.
Yeah.
Because this is it's just 2 words which define functions. It's a writer who also is in the producing.
It's very clear.
Or it's a producer who's also writing. And this is what a showrunner does, exactly. This is the definition. And for me, I really like it because it's so technical.
Yeah.
And I mean,
showrunner is not a credit anyway.
Exactly.
In that sense. So, I mean, in the States, it's mainly executive producer / writer, head writer, creator, etc. Here, I think we're leaning more, in Germany, we're leaning more towards creative producer / writer.
It's really interesting, because in Germany, there are even people trying to install showrunner as a credit. And then I'm always like a little ashamed, and I think, what will people internationally think about this? It's kind of weird. So we don't have a really good European approach which says in every country is similar. So
do we need that?
I think yes, because we just heard the international co-productions grow.
Yeah.
And for co-productions, it's really...
it's even more important.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, to align everyone. What do you think, Bettina?
I think what is really important is to clarify and agree on the communication you set on.
Yeah.
On these structures of the decision makers who is in, and I think the better it is, the smaller the core is. And you have to
WhatsApp group.
Yeah. Of course. But there is one thing I think it's also very important. We heard a lot about trust and the things we have a good time together. It was great, but you have to think about what crisis can come, and so you have to install before the work. You have to have an idea about the decision cascade in case of conflicts and crisis. And this is a reason why it's important to say: is it the showrunner who has the final say? That it would help if this is clear from the beginning on what happens, who decides at the end, who take the responsibility. Yeah. And it's not about that one person should or have to take this risk alone. You can do it together, the three people, I think. But
exactly.
I think this is really interesting because here I have to emphasize that you say it as a Swiss broadcaster. And this is your idea, and I really appreciate it. But I think if you compare it with the German idea of the role of the broadcaster and the role of a producer, it's much more complicated because the German broadcasters see themselves as the ones with the final say because they give the money. And I mean, and they do. And of course, I mean, you also give the money, but then you in a way step back because you believe in your partners that they will hear your voice. And of course, I will hear your voice, and then you can give me the final say. But this is, I mean, it's really so complicated because it's in the whole system, and you can't just talk about the showrunner. It's the showrunner in the system of the country where you produce.
I'd love to hear your take on that as a German producer in Germany.
I think they talked about a lot of things, but from the financial part, Marianne said correctly, we had one or two really big crises in the project, and so I cannot imagine having not somebody like Marianne on the project because Charlotte had to shoot and she was not able to write in the evening or in the night, so it was not possible. And so it was really great that we can change a few things, talked about it over the day, and it was financially very important to be able to make some changes in the project in order to get along with these crisis moments.
Yeah. More of a general question for all of you. What would kind of be your advice for producers and broadcasters when it comes to training and coaching writers into becoming showrunners?
So, I would say if we want to improve all
the European system.
European system, I think we have to clarify that it's really important that we need some people that really take the responsibility and the leadership. They have to lead the development and the authors, but they also have to work together with the creatives in the shooting and in the post-production. It's not like, that's somebody else, so they have to work with them, and they have to deal with it, that not everything they have in mind is possible, because sometimes you only have the blue glass, not the yellow glass. To be very small, but I think that is very important that they learn this and that they also get to know what are the production needs and duties. To be honest, because it's very important for us because we have duties to the broadcasters and other partners. And I think they need some kind of flexibility in their person. If they think, I have this one big vision, I really would feel this person, because there are so many moments in a project where something can happen and you have to need somebody who could be flexible and work with the situation and make something better maybe out of the situation.
And are you now, after the experience with Wer Wir Sind, are you going to actively also work in the writer-producer system and train more writers to become writer-producer?
We have to look at the next projects, to be honed,
project by project.
Project by project, what it will be. And so we are not that big that we have so many series like that, mini-series. But I think it depends on the next project, and we have to look how it's now working in the development and the creation.
Okay, Bettina, what do you think needs to be done in terms of training?
Benedict said a lot of things, and what I think it's very important that also writers and young writers be aware that showrunning, or however you will call it, is much more than create a vision or or be a heart or core or engine from something, but it's flexibility. You have to be special. You have to have special skills in communication. You have to communicate with so many different partners, and they were coming from very different backgrounds. It's high maintenance, I think. And another thing, what I write it down because the endurance to drag on a project over years, this and many seasons, it could be very, very, very exhausting. It's also enrichment, but it's on the other hand, it's that.
Yeah. It's something that we sometimes forget, especially coming from the film world, when it comes to indeed creating TV series, how long it takes, and indeed how much energy and endurance, etc. it takes.
Yes, that's it. You need a long breath, and be aware.
Marianne, what do you think in terms of what do we need to do to train and coach more writers?
I think, of course, something like the European Showrunner program in the EFS is key.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that in 5 years, the whole industry will have been changed because of this and these people who spread into the world. But as well, I think that the production companies, and especially the big ones with a lot of money in the background, and also the broadcasters.
Oh, those ones. Okay, yes.
Those ones. They really have a responsibility, not only thinking on the project basis, but also thinking about, like the showrunner system in the US, where they were fighting for bigger writers' rooms so that the writer can be writer on set, can be in the editing room, can be sent through all these steps, and there you need, you need money for this. And in Switzerland, for example, the Film Commission, how it's called, Focal, the Focal has a program for a junior writer, and we had her as an assistant in the second season, and then we got her on board as a staff writer in the third season, so she could get experience. And it was not on the risk of the production company, but and we need these kind of incentives and ideas how to get the young people into learning, so that it's, because of course, if would be asked having a writers' room, I would take the experienced writers. Yep. But Bettina and the SRF asked me to really take the young talents, because they wanted to give the experience back to the industry.
So to add to that, you need a broadcaster who supports the system.
Yeah, we tried. We do this at the Undertaker.
Yeah.
So a few young talents have their own show now. Yeah. And they came actually from these writers' rooms, and that was one of the main reasons why we decided to get a German head writing for a Swiss series, because we wanted to be an experienced person who is able to build up new talents and to take them through the process, and That helps.
We need incentives. We need broadcasters that are supporting the system. I think that's extremely important. So, Bettina, please spread the word to all your other broadcasters. We just heard that they're creating all these alliances. It would be nice to also push this system, training new talent, etc., in those alliances.
You get better stories.
Well, that is actually a beautiful end statement, I think. You get better stories. No, because I really don't want to eat up too much of your lunchtime. It's short already anyway, but German efficiency, right? Can I just give a hand for my fantastic panel today? Thank you so much.